Welcome. My name is Ria, and I'm here to teach you what I call a relax class, which means stretching more than anything. And if you have 2 tennis balls or balls nearby for fascia release, you can bring those, a blanket, and even a couple of blocks. Then you have it all by your side. We will actually be starting down on our backs supine today, which means that you can slowly come onto your back. And as it will be a slow practice, you might want to make sure that you're not getting cold. So maybe you can see I have a shirt on, stuff like that. Come down on your back with knees bent. Maybe the knees can drop in towards each other for support. I am going to use my blanket as a pillow because my neck really loves that. And you can bring your hands on your belly, maybe one on top of your navel and the other one just around the navel or belly button or just a little bit below. And soften everything. Let the shoulders fall towards the mat. Maybe you breathe in and sigh out a couple of times. Stretching, as we will be doing today together, has to do a lot with letting go, not holding on to tension, but accepting maybe a little bit of discomfort. But when we let go, we can experience freedom. And right now, as you breathe slow and deep, I invite you to surrender or let go into God's amazing grace, things that is maybe pulling you down or you're holding on to for some reason. Let that go. Maybe sigh it out and let God take over. I say a short prayer. Listen or pray along as you can do it. God, into your hands and into your embrace of love, we surrender this time. And may this season, if you watch this during Christmas or any other season, speak to you. May I be open. And then you can bring your hands down by the side. Let the knees move apart. Maybe you take your feet to mat width distance and windshield wiper them slowly from left to right. Just to relieve any tension that might have been building up just as we were resting. So in today's class, I'll guide you through postures that will stay in for 3-4 minutes or so. Some maybe a little bit less, depending on which stretch it is. And we'll finish up with a time of rest. It's a really great time to sink in and maybe experience a deepening of the story about Christmas. Take your knees in for a hug. And then let go. Bring both feet again down on the floor, butterfly pose. So the sole of the feet together and bring the knees out to each side. If you know that it's nice to bring blocks underneath the thighs or even the knees, depending on how you're feeling, you can do that. I'm showing it now because it's just nice to relax. And of course, blankets on top of the blocks if you feel inclined to do that. If you are in this butterfly pose, maybe without blocks, make sure that you bring your navel slightly towards the spine so you don't have a huge arch in your back as we rest here for 3 minutes. So if you're ready, you can close your eyes if you prefer. If your hands can reach down on the inside of your thigh, you can not pull but use the weight of gravity to get a little bit of extra tension down to your inner thighs. What are you feeling in your inner thighs, your groins right now? Are you holding on to anything that is nice to let go of? Connect with your deep breath, belly breath, so that the belly moves up on your inhale and down on your exhale. Maybe you have heard the story of Christmas multiple times. Maybe not. But my hope and my prayer is that when we're done with this class today, that maybe the story has been opened to you in a new way. And maybe we find a new gratitude and appreciation of the events of Christmas. "40 seconds left." Take the last 3 deep breaths. Breathe in through your nose and out through your nose if possible. If you're ready, you can slowly gather your knees. You might be sore in your groins and your inner thigh. Do whatever feels good. I actually like to extend my legs up towards the sky, pedal my feet a little bit, shake my legs gently. And then if you're ready, you can bring your feet down again and roll on to one side. And from there, slowly take a seat. I know it can feel a little bit rough now after resting. If you like to elevate your hip up on a block, you can definitely do that for a better easy seat. Circle your shoulders a couple of times. And then try to sit really tall. You can stay where you are. I'm just going to show. Sit really tall with your spine. Take the nose button a little bit in, so you might feel like you have double cheeks. I'm going to stretch the back of the neck. So you can bring both hands behind your head, grasp the fingers, and not pull really, but just a gentle tug on the back of the head so the chin moves towards the chest. And this is one of those stretches we won't stay in for 3 minutes because it can be a little bit too much. And always any discomfort, of course, you ease out of it. And then let go. Bring your hands down. You're welcome to move slowly. And you might release tension, moving your head from left to right. Next up is a side stretch. And again, make sure you use your equipment if you feel inclined to do so. You can bring your right foot out to the side, and you can even bring something, blanket or something, under the heel. When we're going to move to the side, it can be nice to have a blanket or a block underneath the knee, especially if you know that the back of the thigh, the hamstrings are a little bit tight. Just showing you here all the equipment stuff you can do. You can also bring a block underneath this knee. So again, you figure that out, what helps you sit here for 3 minutes. We're gonna move the chest, it's both sitting bones on the mat, towards the knee that's bent towards your left side. From there, right shoulder moves in the direction of the right knee. So my elbow is on the inside of the thigh as I bring my left arm up overhead. moving in the direction of the toes. Then try to let go and relax everything for these 3 minutes. This also means that you might want to take this top shoulder a little bit down if you have it pulled all the way up towards the ears. Breathe. Might feel the stretch in your left side body, more towards the back. And I'll invite you to use your imagination as I guide you through different kind of images or pictures of the event of Christmas. And I'd like us to see the events of Christmas through the eyes of the owner of the inn or the hostel or whatever it was that Mary and Joseph visited. The one that there was no space in, there was no room for them. So picture an owner, man, most likely, of this inn. Probably he was busy. We knew that a lot of people visited Bethlehem at that time. Busy serving food. If the top arm is kind of annoying you, you can always bring it back or let it go, shake it off. 40 seconds left. Last deep breath. And take a seat. Do whatever your body feels like doing now. And then get ready for the other side. Doesn't have to be positioned the same way as the other side, but maybe. And know that the sole of the foot that you have on the inner thigh doesn't have to be all the way into the groins. And if this is what is troubling you, there's no reason not to just extend it out. So don't let this knee hold you back from this posture. If you're ready, move the chest towards the right side, so you're kind of an awkward seated twist. And then left shoulder moves towards the left knee, taking a hold of the inside of your legs. Maybe the arm up overhead. And then I want you to bring your imagination back to this image of the owner of the inn. Picture him, her being busy. And then this couple knocks at the door. He opens the door and sees this couple maybe he's a little bit stressed and annoyed that yet another couple is joining the party, so to say, and just want to tell them off because there's so much to do. But when he sees Joseph and Mary, maybe something stirs in his heart. They have had a long journey. And Mary is pregnant, and he can see that. For some reason, he feels led to tell them that there is this stable or barn or whatever it have been that was free. That they could go there at least to get out of the wind. It was cold. Maybe it was raining as well, we don't know. But they could go there. At least not stay out the whole night in the unsafety streets. Last 40 seconds. He might even have guided their path there, has like walked along with them to the place. Or maybe he had a servant who could do that. But he helped them find the venue where they could rest for a bit. Slowly come out of the side stretch. And again, move how you feel you need to move. We are gonna go more into the hips. Lizard pose. So this is where you might want to use your blanket for your knees, or at least one of the knees at the time. You can move into your tabletop. And if you take the left knee on the floor mat, you can also fold the mat, you bring your right foot to the front. If you have blocks available, these can be nice. Even though you might be able to reach down on the floor, it can be a little bit too much for 3 minutes. So either hands on block, so your hands and arms are on the inside of the knee. And you make sure that this knee and this front foot is somewhat distant. You can't do it here. It doesn't get the same. Relax your shoulders, and then of course if you feel like you want to move down on your forearm, you can do so. Stretching the hamstrings, the back of the front thigh, as well as the hip flexors, so as on the left side, front. When we are stretching here, we're not trying to force the body into maximus stretch. We are trying to go for 60-70% of max stretch. We do that to help the body relax in this stretch, so we actually get the benefits of it and don't hold on to tension. If you find it hard to breathe deep and natural, it might be because you are stretching a little bit too deeply and you are struggling with the posture. If you sense that your body is protecting you, holding on to tension, you might try to convince it to let go and accept the idea of staying here a minute more. Big belly breaths. And be present if your mind tends to wander off. Almost there. I know this is it's a hard stretch. It can be. 2 more big breaths. And let go of that. Oh. Again, you do what you need to do to find some ease and relief of any tension. I wouldn't say pain, but still. And we're just gonna go for the other side. When you are ready for that, at least. And remember, don't become too stubborn in the sense that you want to stay. If you feel like, no, my body really, really, really needs to go out of it, go out of it. All right, left foot to the front. Right knee at the back, and again, find the position. Keep the knee somewhat close to your shoulder. I know it's easier to drop the knee out, but we want to try to keep it somewhere close. And then I'll invite you to bring your imagination back to the Christmas story. I can imagine that as this owner might have led the couple to this stable barn, that maybe he could see, or he heard at least, that Mary started to have contractions and was actually going into labor. He could have not cared, but as this was Mary's first child, her first birth, she would have needed help. And the inn owner would be the one that knew who to call for. So somehow I'm imagining that he would call for help, some old wise woman that could come and support Mary in this process. Joseph most likely was sent out because at that time most men were not allowed to participate in this event. So maybe the owner went back with this couple in mind, knowing that this was different. Maybe having a little bit of worry in his mind if everything was going to be okay. What do you think he had felt, or he would feel? Twenty seconds left. Ease out of the posture. And again, you can do whatever is comfortable right now. If you're not on a blanket with your mat, you might want to take a blanket or carpet or something. You might want to take your blanket on the outside to the front edge of your mat, just on the side. We're gonna go into a stretch of the pecs, the front of the arm, the chest. So you're gonna start with the left arm down, and watch this: elbow, shoulder, and shoulder aligned with the short end of the mat when we come down. Not up here, not down there, not extended. I just see all these variations when I teach. So elbow, cactus arm. Bring the left arm down, your chest on the mat, and then you might take a look, because then my left arm is down. I'm moving onto the left side of my body. My right, you probably can't see that, arm is holding on to the mat here behind me, so I'm not dropping on my belly again. And I'm on my side to gain this stretch into the front of the armpit, so to say. The top leg can do whatever it needs to do. You might want to move the arm or the elbow a little bit up, a little bit down, to find that spot where you feel like, oh yeah, there we go. I feel it. Your spine might be in a sort of rotation, twisted position, and if it doesn't feel good, make sure you get some support with your leg, with a block, or figure out how to place your legs so that your spine is okay. The side of the head is resting on the floor, so you relax everything. Also notice that the top of the arm and the neck is not doing anything. Just one more minute. 2 deep breaths more. And then roll onto your belly. Bring the arm in. Maybe you feel like circling that shoulder a little bit. Move the blanket to the other side of the mat if you want to use it. I just think it's nice with it not being too hard or too cold for the elbow. Your right elbow, same thing, 90-degree ankle in the elbow. Turn the head away. Bring yourself up on the side. Soften everything. And back to the story. Maybe the next day, the owner walks back to the barn to see how things were going. Maybe he brought some food, some clean clothes. He was a nice guy. And as he came in and visited Joseph and Mary, he saw that everything had gone all right. Everybody was happy, and they had this little baby boy. They were creative, so they put him in this manger. And they most likely have talked as well. And maybe Mary and Joseph, maybe Mary was an extrovert, started to share the story, what happened during that night after she gave birth. That these shepherds all of a sudden came to visit. And how Joseph and Mary were a little bit scared to begin with, if they were robbers or, what happened. But then the shepherds told the story about meeting angels singing. And the inn owner might have listened with eyebrows raised, skeptical, but maybe also moved, because this was something else. There was something special about this child and this birth. Slowly roll onto your belly. And you can shake your arms, shoulders, whatever feels nice. We're gonna stay prone here on our bellies in a Sphinx pose, which means elbows down underneath the shoulder girdle. And you make sure that you notice where your shoulders are. They're not up towards the ears. They are a little bit, not squeezed, but just a little bit moved back towards the buttocks. We're not using a lot of strength here, but we're not hanging in our shoulders either. Gaze forward, maybe slightly down. I have brought my blanket for my elbows You can wrap it up underneath your belly if you want, or somewhere else. Make sure you relax your buttocks, the lumbar part of the spine. And just 30 seconds more. We won't stay here for 3 minutes. Take the last deep breath and slowly roll down. You can stack your hands, leave the foreheads on your hands and rest for a moment. We just have one more stretch. It's going to be pigeon pose on each side, and then I'll guide you through a short fascia release with the balls on our spine, and then finish with the rest. So bring your hands underneath your shoulders and slowly come into maybe tabletop, maybe down dog, whatever you like. If you're not in love with pigeon pose, I'll show you a variation that's easier on your knees, but I'll first show you pigeon pose. We are again gonna bring the knee down on the mat. So I like to have this blanket prepared for that, so I'm not getting sore knees. I take my hands to the front, lift the knees up, and bring the right foot, or the right shin rather, to the front of the mat, with the right knee pretty much out to the right side of the mat. Now, I didn't ask you to bring your blocks, but you might want to use those. Point the toe, and then let your hip grow heavy towards the floor. And then you might stay on your hands, you might use your blocks, you might come down on your elbows. If this is not something that feels good for your knees, this is an option where you come down on your back instead. And bring the right ankle on the left leg, pull the left leg in, and keep the right knee away from your core. Same stretch, just better for knees. Any discomfort in your right knee, ease out of it. Stretching into the big glute maximus, piriformis as well, if you know what that is, small muscles in our hip. I'm thinking that this inn owner, as life continued and at some point Mary and Joseph and their baby boy Jesus left, that he stayed in awareness of this Jesus. He might have heard the story about those 3 rich foreigners, wise men that came offering presents. He might not. But as an old man, he might have heard all the rumors about Jesus, how Jesus healed people, did miracles. And maybe he thought back about what he experienced 30 years ago during that night. Bring yourself up with your hands on the mat. We're gonna move slowly out of it. Please don't put any body weight on your right bended knee. I'd rather that you tuck the back foot under. And maybe lift up if you're into a down dog. That's my favorite after this. Or you can do anything else. Just something that creates a little bit of blood circulation into your right leg. And if you're ready, when you're ready, you go for the left. Bring the left shin on the floor. When I say point the toes, it is this pointing of the toes that I mean, not flexed, because we're kind of locking the knee in. So ballerina foot. Left knee pretty much out to the left side of the mat. So you are more resting on your heel, if you're resting on it, than your knee. Maybe you notice if you tend to drop out now that your left knee is at the front, if you drop out on the left side, or if you're kind of staying on top of this stretch so that your hip stays aligned with the mat and not becoming half stacked if you're moving out on the side. Maybe the inn owner also went to Jerusalem. That was a common thing through that Easter period of time for Jewish people. So they might have seen Jesus, at least heard about his trial and his crucifixion. He might have been wondering why. He knew this boy was special. Maybe the Son of God, as he claimed, but then he died. But the inn owner most likely also heard that Jesus rose again. What do you think went through his mind and his feeling when he heard that? Slowly come up on your hands again, ready to move out of the stretch. And this time you can roll onto your left side, your left hip there. And bring your legs to the front, or whatever is your front end of the mat. And you might stretch them out. And now it's a good time to get a hold of your balls. We're gonna go a couple of places down by their spine. So tennis balls or my fascia release balls, as I have here, both of them works really well. We're gonna put them maybe mid-spine, where the diaphragm is attached, the lower bottom of the ribs. We're gonna try to almost connect them, maybe a little bit distance, but that's how we roll. So we're gonna come down on your back, bend your knees so feet are on the floor. Lift your hip up and then bring the balls in. If you have really a lot of clothes on, you might want to make sure you don't have so many layers that you can't feel anything. Or that the balls might be like moving around because of the clothes. When you feel like, oh yeah, I got somewhere there, you drop your hip down if it's possible. If it's not, blanket is available under your hip. Keep the knees bent. They can support each other, your knees. Feet apart. You can rest your hands on the floor like you would in resting pose, and then stay here for not 3 minutes, or more like 30 seconds or so. Then you move the balls a little bit further down. It's not that much, so maybe just a few centimeters, a couple of inches. You can just kind of roll up, move yourself up towards the top end of the mat, and then find that new spot. Make sure your knees are bent, because otherwise you probably won't put enough pressure on the balls. Breathe when you're ready for that. You can let your knees parten. And then windshield wiper very gently, knees slowly from left to right. And I'm not going out that far. I just want to go out far enough so that I can feel the ball kind of get into the muscles of the back as I drop my knees out. And you might find one of those, one side more sore or tender than the other. And then you might stay with your knees a little bit out on that side for a couple of breaths. And bring them back. Last position. So lower down, and you can stay down. Maybe you just look at the screen if you feel so inclined. Somewhere around here, we're not down on the buttocks, but around here. If you feel any discomfort, you might be on this joint down here, SI joint, but then go a little bit wider or a little bit closer in. So really just figure out what works for you. So you're going to take the balls out, lift the hip up, and place the balls where you feel like that makes sense. You can always move them. And depending on where you place the balls, you can just kind of let go. My hip is hovering, or my glutes are hovering over the floor. You can move a little bit from left to right and let the balls massage your lower back. Or if it feels good, you can bring slowly one knee up, the other knee as well. If it feels okay that you're kind of resting your body weight on those balls, and hug your knees. And even still roll slowly from left to right for a moment more. Let go, bring the feet down on the floor, lift the hip off, remove the balls, don't use them for that long, and then find your rest for a couple of minutes. So you're welcome to take the blanket and put it on top of you if you like that. You can also take a block underneath your lower part of the spine and rest on that if that feels comfortable. Make sure your feet are a little bit apart and that you don't get cold. Hands will be down on the floor, pinky finger towards the thighs. Take a deep, deep belly breath. Open your mouth and sigh out. And then maybe for the last time, picture this in owner. Maybe he even met Jesus at some point. And Jesus was talking, or in a synagogue, or just walking around. He might have told Jesus how he remembered his birth. And as we rest, maybe you want to sit yourself in the shoes of this inn owner and just be present with Jesus. Maybe you sense that Jesus is talking to you, smiling to you. Maybe you're just in a quiet community or feeling of togetherness without talking. It's about time to finish this class together. If there is a closing prayer on your heart or anything, you might say that in your own mind as you start to move fingers and toes. Slowly bring one knee up into the chest, and you might do that with the other one as well, hugging in the knees for a moment. And of course, you're welcome to stay down on the mat as well, but if you're ready to take a seat, you can take a seat. It was a joy practicing together with you. From my heart to yours, thank you so much. Blessings on your path.